Hello, and welcome to the Caregiver Teleconnection program. My name is Minerva Villarreal. I am the Foundation Program Coordinator for the Wilma Charitable Foundation, and I'm going to be your facilitator for today. Today's presentation is one done by Dr. Natalee Oliver. She's quickly becoming one of our regulars. And with that, go ahead, Natalee.
Yes, ma'am. I'm honored to be here. Very excited. Do y'all see the PowerPoint now? See it?
Yes, it's up.
Okay. Okay. And I don't want anyone to stress. I always share my PowerPoint. I will send it to Minerva in PDF form, and then you can have access to everything, all of the websites and such. So I don't want you stressed about that. So here we go. Just a quick background. My doctorate is in social work. I'm a clinical social worker. The MSG is the Master's in Gerontology. And I am an Alzheimer's advocate as well. There is my email if you want to email me. It's noliver@mclennan.edu. So I am excited to be here today. This is just a summary of what today's presentation is about that you read about when you signed up. I want to give you just a quick background of who this person is talking to you. So you can see on the left side is my clinical background, just so you can understand. I've worked in mental health. I've worked with older adults with individual counseling, group counseling. I've worked with crisis management, and then as well as mental health, substance abuse, etc. This is my personal background. My parents, that's my mom and dad. My dad has dementia. My parents moved in with my husband and I in October will be 2 years. So over the last 20 years, as I've been educating about aging, especially dementia, we've got this whole new understanding and empathy for it because now they are living with me. So I want to touch base briefly about the brain because we're talking about healthy brain and healthy aging. And so 1 in 6 people have some type of brain condition. And these are some of the ones that there's many others. Like I said, you'll have the link to everything that I'm talking about. But a lot of times when we think of aging, we think about Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And that is when thinking and behaviors and processing things and memory are affected. And we know right now that 1 in 9 people age 65 and over in the US have a form of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. But you can see some of the other things, other brain conditions, brain tumors, Parkinson's, stroke, etc. And I just want to touch on this too, because we know these things, but I think we forget them. And so I really wanted to bring them to the forefront since we're talking about healthy brain, healthy aging. And so our brains receive information from our senses, involuntary inputs from our organs. And so it takes all of this information and it interprets this information so that we understand it and we associate meaning. So our brain enables us to have thoughts and emotions, memories, and we're able to make decisions. Our brain enables movements, motor function, so our balance and our coordination. Our brain enables perceptions of various sensations through our senses and pain. Brain enables these automatic behaviors that we don't even think about. A lot of times that we take for granted, like breathing, heart rate, sleep, digestion. It enables regular regulation of organ function, and it enables speech and language. So just a quick reminder of how important our brain is and things we don't always think about. I love this. I had to cut and paste in 2 slides, and so I tried to match it up as close as I could. I'm not an expert on the different parts of the brain, but I did want to share this with you. This is from Dementia Society, and I love it because it breaks up and it just shows how important our brain is. So you can see at the top left, we have the frontal lobe. So you can see there's where reasoning, planning, language, emotion, and movement are there. Then you can see we also have where the hippocampus is. You hear that a lot when it comes to memory, because that has to do with our short-term memory and our long-term memory. Then you can see the brainstem, that's where the breathing and the temperature and the heart rate are regulated. And then you can look over to the other side and you can see parts of the brain that are affected: hearing, reading, our senses. You can see vision, visual processing, and then you can see down at the bottom, the cerebellum, that's coordination, balance, attention. And so I just really love this visual because it breaks down the different parts of our brain and how it functions. Did you know that the health of your brain and heart are connected? This is what a lot of the literature is out there talking about. And so it's saying that if you keep your heart healthy, you may lower the risk for brain conditions. And just on a real basic level, your heart pumps blood through vessels to every part of your body, including your brain. So if you have damage to these blood vessels, it can lead to serious health problems like heart disease, stroke, and possibly dementia. And so we've got to keep our blood vessels healthy so that we can keep our heart and our brain healthy. So if you look at those guidelines for heart health, that's going to be good for brain health as well. So on the left side of the screen, you'll say things to talk to your doctor about for you or your loved one. And those can be things like blood pressure, your cholesterol, weight management, your risk for diabetes. If you're smoking, talk to them about quit smoking, physical activity as it relates to protecting your heart. Talk to your doctor about what's a good heart healthy eating plan and what would the symptoms be for a heart attack for someone in your condition. I know my mom is 79. She had a heart attack in her 50s just from stress. Didn't smoke, didn't drink, wasn't overweight, just due to stress. And I know back then there was not a lot of research on women and heart symptoms. And so they looked different than what the symptoms would be for men with heart attack. So really just talking to your doctor about you or your loved one and what those symptoms would be. And then if you look on the right, you're going to have lots of links to the National Institute on Aging, which is an excellent resource. If you want to dive deeper into how your heart works, how it changes with age, what is heart disease, signs of it, what can you do to prevent it. If you see that link, questions to ask your doctor, that gives a more in-depth of what I put on the left side of the screen. And then, of course, you can look up future research. So just a lot of valuable information because we're talking about brain health and how it works with heart health as well. So when we're talking about aging and our brains, we definitely need to bring up Alzheimer's and the numbers. So currently in 2023, 6.7 million Americans aged 65 and over are living with Alzheimer's disease. And by 2050, that's supposed to double to 13 million. And I mentioned this earlier, about 1 in 9 people aged 65 and over have Alzheimer's disease or some form of dementia. And almost 2/3 of those are women. And I thought this was an interesting statistic. Nearly half of all caregivers, all the caregivers out there taking care of someone, nearly half are providing help to older adults for those with Alzheimer's and dementia. And then on the right side of the screen just gives you a quick visual of dementia. It's this general term, this set of symptoms that affect our memory, our thinking, our behaviors. And Alzheimer's is one type of dementia, and it's the most common type, from 60 to 80% of all cases. I'm not going to show this video, but again, if you want to get the PDF, this is it's called Understand Alzheimer's Disease in 3 Minutes. It is a great video. It's been around for a while. I've used it in a lot of trainings. I've been to other trainings where they use it. It just gives a good basic explanation of how Alzheimer's affects your brain. Now, when we think about Alzheimer's, some of the uncontrollable risk factors are age. That's the number one risk factor, is increasing age. Other things that we can't control are our genes, our race, and our gender. We're not talking about those today because we can't control those. What we're talking about today are modifiable risk factors, meaning these are risk factors or behaviors that we can modify. And if you see over here, there's a lot of research going on right now in the field that's talking about these modifiable risk factors that we're going to break down all the categories that are saying, a lot of the experts are saying, hey, we think if we modify some of these risk factors, we may be able to slow down cognitive decline or maybe even prevent it. So the key takeaway is that these changes, if we make these in our lifestyles, they may make a huge difference, profoundly impact the entire health journey that we take on as we age. So as I go through these different categories, I'm hoping that you'll think of this thing. What's one healthy habit in relation to this category that I already have? What's one change that I can make now? What's one change I'd like to make in 3 months? And what's one tip that we talked about that could help me do this process? So the first one I want to spend time on is sleep. Sleep is so important. We're going to spend a lot of time on this one because 50 to 70 million Americans have chronic sleep disorders. I have sleep apnea. And so there's a lot of Americans that are out there. And so when we have this sleep deficiency, a lot of times this lack of sleep, it can be linked to chronic health problems like heart disease, high blood pressure, strokes. It can even be linked to depression. And so sleep is so important. And when we think about sleep in older adults, research is saying it may be linked to a higher chance of falls and broken bones, which it makes sense. Some studies are showing that this sleep deficiency or this lack of sleep changes activities in some parts of our brain. And you've probably experienced this. There's times when you haven't gotten enough sleep, you can't make decisions, you can't solve problems. When we're grouchy and we're tired and we've had that lack of sleep, we can't control our emotions, our behaviors may change. I know if I don't have a lot of sleep, I'll eat worse the next day. So that sleep can really affect us. And then recent findings suggest that sleep plays what they call a housekeeping role that removes toxins in our brains that actually build up while we're awake. And so, again, having that good sleep helps with our brain function. And according to the Sleep Foundation, 40% of people with insomnia may also have a mental health disorder, and 75% of people with depression have insomnia. And sadly, that insomnia increases, it's more common as people get older. Up to 75% of the older adults experience symptoms of insomnia. So I love this questionnaire. It says, are you sleep deprived? It is by Dr. Jeremy Sutton, and he says if you say true to 2 or more, definitely talk to your doctor about maybe being sleep deprived. I won't read all of them, but you can see it's a struggle for me to get out of bed in the morning. Or number 4, I feel tired and irritable and stressed out during the week. Number 5, I have trouble concentrating or remembering. So look at that. That could be sleep deprived instead of a lot of times older adults will go, if they start having that symptom, they'll think, oh, I might have dementia. There are many effects that can affect our memory and our ability to make decisions. And then also I need to have a nap to get throughout the day. And, definitely if you're feeling drowsy while driving. So if you've answered true or yes to 2 or more of these, this is something to definitely talk to your primary care physician about. These are some healthy sleep habits. It's called good sleep hygiene practices. We know these, but when we're thinking about how these can benefit our brain and our healthy aging, maybe that'll give you a new way to look at it. All the research talks about we need to go to bed at the same time and we need to wake up at the same time every day. And I told you I have sleep apnea. I told my sleep doctor I'm not going to do that. I can't promise. And so I said, which do you want me to do? Do you want me to go to bed at the same time every day or wake up? He said, if you're only going to do one, you need to get up at the same time every day. Other good sleep hygiene practices are we need before about an hour before bed, we need to turn off all that artificial light, which is TV, computer screens, not be on our phones, because that light may be signaling to our brain that we need to stay awake when we're actually trying to wind down. We need to avoid heavy meals, large meals within a few hours of bedtime. Another one's avoid nicotine or caffeine. Caffeine can stay in your system up to 8 hours. Another thing is keeping your bedroom quiet, cool, and dark. Now, I had one client that was telling me he had those lights that were sensory activated. So at night it was dark in there, but once he put his feet on the ground from the bed, he had lights plugged in throughout the hall to the bathroom so that it would activate and see the light to get to the bathroom. Take a hot bath or do some relaxation techniques. Another thing we need to do is limit our naps because that can affect sleeping at night. And naps really shouldn't be more than 20 minutes at a time. And this is for good sleep hygiene. Now, if your doctor says something else, that's different. And then also spending time outside, getting that sunlight on us is important as well. I wanted to share this article by Rebecca Robbins. She works at Harvard Medical School. She's an instructor, and she was talking about that the best sleep medicine just may be sunshine. And so she talks about how this natural light exposure helps train our internal biological clock. And so it helps with that circadian rhythm, our sleep-wake cycle, and that helps us say when we're supposed to be tired and when we're supposed to be awake. And so her suggestion is get 10 minutes of sunlight first thing in the morning. If you can go outside and get some sunlight, if you don't have access to that, open up your shades by your windows. If you don't have access to that, she talks about getting what they call a light box to help get that light to help again with that circadian rhythm and getting us used to when we're supposed to be awake and when we're supposed to be asleep. And I put a link here that you can go find more information about that as well. So, thinking of sleep, if you can think of what's one healthy habit that you have, what's one change you can make starting today, one that could be like, okay, I'm going to start waking up at the same time every day. One change you could make within the 3 months could be, okay, I am going to make sure it's cool, it's dark in the room, or that I get some sunlight in the morning. And one tip to help you be successful, okay, maybe I can go to bed at the same time or not have as much caffeine later in the day. Here's some more resources for you that if you want to learn some more about getting some good sleep hygiene practices that I've put on here for you. And I've put additional articles. So this picture is actually my dad. He's on oxygen. And I don't know if you remember when you were a kid, we had those cigarettes that looked like candy, or they were wrapped in paper and they had powder on them that if you blew, it would puff like a cigarette. So I said, Dad, I'm going to talk about stop smoking. Can I take a picture? So he let me. But anyway, there's talking about that there is strong evidence that smoking can increase your risk for dementia. And what I want to share with you, I love this research. It says, not everyone who smokes will get dementia, but stopping smoking is thought to reduce your risk down to the level of non-smokers. So what that means is it's not too late for any of you to quit. And we do know that smoking increases the risk of vascular problems. And so again, that can lead to strokes, which can affect our brains, maybe lead to dementia. And so it's never too late to stop smoking. So again, I won't read through all of these because we know we've had a lot of education on smoking over the years. And so if you are smoking, what can help you stop smoking? What could you do today? And what could you do moving forward? The next one I want to spend some time on is mental health. You can see on the right, it says you can be vulnerable and strong at the same time. And I love that saying. That's by the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. But I don't know if you know this or not, but 1 in 5 adults in the US is diagnosed with a mental health condition. And there's many risk factors for this. Some people have had what we call adverse childhood experiences, things that they were exposed to before the age of 18. This could be trauma, a history of abuse, child abuse, sexual assault, witnessing of violence. It can be, some people can develop mental health diseases due to having chronic medical conditions. We know that if you have heart conditions, that there's the higher risk for depression. There might be some biological factors, chemical imbalances in the brain. Also, people using drugs or increasing alcohol could lead to having mental health diagnoses. This is my sister. I asked her to make a goofy picture to kind of, stand out. And so she did. And this was just, are you taking care? I said, give me a picture of you looking really stressed. So this is what she did. But chronic stress can actually lead to changes in the brain. If you've probably experienced this when you're really stressed, you may have some memory issues, or maybe you can't make decisions. And so this regularly experiencing stress can disrupt your immune system and it can increase the risk of heart attack, like I talked about with my mom. And so going back to what we started out with is that living a heart healthy lifestyle, we also need to do that for our brain health. And just I want to reiterate that mental health has an impact on our physical health and vice versa. So older adults with physical health conditions such as heart disease have higher rates of depression than those that are healthy. But I bet a lot of y'all didn't know that depression can increase the risk for many types of physical health problems, such as diabetes, heart disease, stroke. So it's important that we take care of our mental health as well. I've shown this before on previous presentations, but I love the visual. It gives you a lot of the examples of anxiety. It gives you the symptoms of depression. But what it shows you that a lot of times they overlap. So if you're experiencing any of these things, the physical sides like dry mouth, trembling, racing thoughts, if you're experiencing some on the right side, which is depression, low mood, loss of interest and pleasure, this feelings of worthlessness. And in the middle, you see where they overlap. So that's why it's really good to get to a professional and get that assessment. But did you know 30 to 40% of dementia caregivers have depression and 44% report having anxiety? But we also know, especially as a mental health professional, that due to stigma and people not always dealing with their mental health, I believe those numbers are low. But you can see if you're a caregiver, that's a risk factor for developing depression or anxiety. And so one thing you can do is cope with your emotions and your stress. And in therapy, we call these positive affirmations. These are research backed. They are proven that if we will replace those negative thoughts that can come into our minds of, I'm a horrible caregiver, I'm not doing enough for my loved one, I should do more, all those negative things that can come in, if we replace those with words like, I'm doing the best I can, what I'm going through and what I'm doing would be hard for anyone. If we say aloud or write down or think to ourselves, I'm not perfect and that's okay. I can't control some of the things that happen. Sometimes I just need to do what works for right now. And so if you think of those or fill in the blank, I will try to get help from fill in the blank if caregiving becomes too much for me. And the thing to remember with caregiving is these emotions of discouragement, feeling sad, feeling frustrated, even feeling angry, those are normal and those are okay. But we need to work through those and get help. I love this. I saw this on social media and it's got a picture of a lady and it says, she's a 109-year-old woman says the secret to long life is avoiding other people. Now, she's just joking, but what this leads us to is laughter. Laughter is so important. Laughter is good for our mental health. Laughter relaxes our whole body. It can help us release distressing emotions like anxiety or anger. It triggers the release of endorphins, those natural feel-good chemicals that promote this well-being that can even temporarily relieve some pain. And I love this if you see the picture on the bottom right. They both look like they're both smiling and having the best time. Because laughing together, even with the one you're caring for or with other caregivers, it strengthens relationships. And we're not laughing at our loved one, but if we can laugh about some of these situations that we get in as caregivers, it can really help our mood. And then I love the one at the bottom. It says, laughter's free. It's not anything we have to pay for, and it's available. This right here, I'm not going to read all of these, but this is a wonderful handout by the National Institute of Health. And it talks about if you're really stressed and kind of breaking down, is it stress you're feeling or is it anxiety? And just do it to give you a quick snapshot. Stress, a lot of times, is what's affecting us, these outside factors of like, I'm a caregiver, my loved one's getting sick, I'm physically getting tired. And then anxiety is generally these internal things that we're feeling. Those can be some of those negative thoughts of, I'm a horrible caregiver. We get the shoulds. I shouldn't be feeling this way. And so kind of how we're responding to these stressors. And then if you look in the middle, it talks about sometimes how they overlap. And then it gives us some coping strategies. And one I want to point out is keeping a journal. Lots of research talks about helping our mental health journal these feelings. And you don't have to keep them. You can tear it up and throw it away, or you can keep it and see kind of patterns and how your mental health is going. And then over to the middle right, you can see if you're getting to where your mental health is getting out of control, you're feeling like I may not want to live any longer, I'm feeling suicidal, or if your caregiver is, if you're the person you care for is having those feelings, you can call 988 from anywhere and talk to a counselor that can help during that crisis management. So here I want to talk about briefly, it's called progressive muscle relaxation. Now, I'm not going to say I'm one that does a lot of meditation because I don't, but I do this. This works. And I provided you here, you can see the visual, but there's also the link that you could print out. What you're doing is this is a good thing to do at night before you're going to bed, or if you're having stress at the moment, you can do. Sometimes I do this when I'm driving, I'm at a red light. You tighten different parts of your body, you hold it, and then you release. And a lot of times my stress is in my neck and shoulders. So I'll tighten it like this, hold it, and then release. And it's amazing if you catch yourself, if you're now alert to your shoulders when we're stressed, we do this. How many times you're doing that during the day and just release that. So this is a really good exercise to help stress the physical part of your body, which then affects your mental. Briefly, I want to touch on the neuroscience of gratitude and how it affects your brain. So we know that research is talking about how gratitude changes the neural structures in the brain that can make us feel happier and more content in life. And feeling grateful and appreciating others when they do something good, it triggers these good hormones in us. And it actually can help us look at more of the positive side of life. Well, what I talk about in therapy a lot is reframing. So how do we look at that glass? Is it half empty or is it half full? And really, how do we look at things really can affect our mental health. So to think about, when we think about mental health, one healthy habit that you may be doing already, maybe you are taking your medication you're prescribed or you're going to a therapist. Something that you could do now, start journaling. Something you'd like to do within 3 months, maybe start that progressive muscle relaxation. And one tip that helped, well, let's start being grateful. And maybe at night before you go to bed, just list 3 things that you're grateful for and start changing those chemicals in your brain. This next one I want to talk about is, are you staying connected to others? I love this picture. This dog is putting his paw around another paw, around the shoulders of the other dog. And it says, I'm so sorry. I heard your family's getting a cat. But really that connection really has to do with our mental health as well. There was a study that talked about 1/3 of Americans age 45 and over feel lonely. And nearly 1/4 of people age 65 and over are socially isolated. And we know older adults are at an increase for loneliness and social isolation because maybe they've lost a loved one, maybe they're living at home. Think about if they have hearing loss. A lot of times they're left out of conversations or interacting with others because people get frustrated or they get tired of repeating, or maybe the older adult gets tired of asking. And just to point out, loneliness is associated with higher rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide. So, research has also shown us that staying connected to others can help with not having high blood pressure and reducing the risk for heart disease, obesity, depression, and cognitive decline. And so, if we're staying connected to others and we can have this meaningful and feel like we have a purpose in life, we need those at any age. And even if someone's caring for us, we need to help them find that purpose in life. So I love this handout from the National Institute on Aging. These are things that can help with that connectedness. So if someone lives alone, then maybe they can have a pet, or maybe they can volunteer to go pet the pets, love on them, walk them, or make sure that your older loved one is staying in touch with family and friends, whatever that looks like, phone calls, emails, FaceTime, etc. But having some kind of connection. So when we're thinking about connection, again, I hope you'll evaluate what are the things you're doing or your loved one is doing and ways to stay connected, because all of that affects our mental health. The next category is physical exercise. And I love this. This is from Jazzercise. It says, don't be afraid of being a beginner. Because a lot of time when we've stopped exercising or it's been years or decades, we have this fear of starting over. There's lots of research talking about physical activity is associated with a lower risk of cognitive decline. The key is finding something that you enjoy or being open-minded to trying something new. Studies are linking ongoing physical activity with benefits for the brain and cognition. But research also says we need to get all four types of exercise. Those are endurance, strength, balance, and flexibility. So you can see here, endurance, that's going to be the cardiovascular. That's going to help with our heart and our lungs and our circulatory system. Flexibility, that's doing stretching, improving our flexibility and making just everyday activities a lot easier. Balance, this can help prevent falls and of course help with balance, and then strength training so that we can stay as independent as possible and prevent fall-related injuries. This has a lot of great information on it, but you can get more at stopfalls.org. But 1 in 4 people age 65 and over fall each year. And falls can lead to loss of independence, but they are preventable. So that's why it's real important to do those different balance, flexibility, and stretching. And you can see over here, nearly 39,000 older adults died due to unintentional falls in 2021. And this is something interesting that not a lot of people think about. Falls are the leading cause of fatal and non-fatal injuries in older adults. So that's why I'll tell a lot of my clients, whether they're caregivers or taking care of an older loved one, you can do chair aerobics, you can do stretches, you can get a can of peas in both hands, do some of those arm movements during commercials, between shows, doing something. You don't have to join that gym or go run, a mile, but doing some kind of movement is better than not doing any at all. And I love this handout. This handout says, check your risk for falls. And so you can see on the left where you mark it, and you say, yes, have you fallen in the past year? And then it explains on the right side why it matters. People who fall once are likely to fall again. On the right, I use or have been advised to use a cane or a walker to get around safely. People that have been advised to use a cane or walker may already be more likely to fall. Sometimes I feel unsteady when I'm walking. Unsteadiness or needing support while walking are signs of poor balance. So you can go through this and see, I've had trouble stepping up onto a curb. This could be a sign of weakness in leg muscles. So this just helps us validate why we need to do stretching, flexibility, balance, cardiovascular, anything that we can do to help stay as independent as we can. This is from the CDC. It's a falls-free checkup screening. So it's called this Steady Stay Independent. And you can click on this link and put in your answers, and it'll tell you, are you at a high fall risk? It only takes 5 minutes to do, but this is something you can do. Print out the answers, take it to your doctor, and see, okay, do I need to get some PT, physical therapy, or occupational therapy? Benefits of physical exercise. There are studies that have talked about it helps us maintain these network connections that's really vital to our cognitive health. There was one study said that if we will just do moderate levels of physical activity, that has a greater the increase in brain glucose metabolism, or how quickly the brain turns glucose into fuel, may reduce the risk for developing Alzheimer's. So again, this physical exercise can help our mental health, can help our brain healthiness. But of course, you need to talk to your doctor before you do anything. You need to listen to your body, make sure that you're drinking fluids. If you exercise outdoor, be aware of your surroundings. If you're going to ride a bike, wear a helmet, and don't hold your breath. If you're like me when you're exercising, sometimes we forget to breathe. So make sure that you breathe, and make sure you have a sturdy chair or person nearby to hold on. This is another great visual. This talks about how mental health and exercise work together. And if we exercise, it helps our mental health. There's lots of research that says if you'll do that cardiovascular exercise and release those endorphins, that those are just as effective as an antidepressant. So if you see on here, if we will exercise to some capacity, it can reduce feelings of depression and stress. It can enhance our overall well-being. It can increase our energy levels and improve our sleep, which we already talked about the benefits of sleep for brain health as well. Here's just some additional resources and articles that you can read on why it's beneficial to exercise for your brain health. So again, here's the exercise that you can complete about the benefits of what you can start incorporating. And at the bottom, I put little changes can add up. Be as active as you can and do activities you enjoy so you will continue to do them. Next, I want to talk about eating a healthy diet. There has been top honors for best diet, lots of research on the Mediterranean diet. And so this is a plant-based cooking. You have lots of fruits and vegetables. You have smaller portions of eggs and dairy. And the research is saying that the Mediterranean diet may protect the brain through anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. But look at this next one. Researchers are believing that the Mediterranean diet may inhibit beta amyloid deposits. Those are what are found in the brains of those with Alzheimer's disease. And so studies have found that this way of eating can prevent cognitive decline. But you also have other benefits, helping with the heart, which we talked about. Being heart healthy and brain healthy go hand in hand. And then I saw this on social media and thought, oh, here's a great visual. And the standard American diet, the initials are SAD. And I was like, oh, I like a lot of those. So really, it's just talking about comparing how a typical American eats versus maybe we just make some of these changes to help start towards more of the Mediterranean diet. Then in 2015, they built upon the Mediterranean diet what's called the MIND diet, where they were focusing on brain health. So what they're talking about is leafy greens should be every day of the week. This can be like kale, mustard greens, romaine lettuce, spinach, things like that. Berries are also stressed over other fruits. So that's like your blackberries, your blueberries. Lots of research about blueberries and memory. And so that those should be eaten at least 5 days a week. But they did the study of over 6,000 healthy Americans with the average age of 68, and they found that those who followed the Mediterranean or MIND diet lowered their risk of dementia by a third. And so the researchers are still working on this, but they are believing that there is a strong correlation between the Mediterranean diet and the MIND diet helping with healthy aging. But I do want to touch on this. Are you staying hydrated? I know a lot of people don't drink as much water as they should. If you're like me, I get a vanilla Diet Coke every day from Sonic. And I went to my doctor years ago and told her, I'm not giving up soda. And so here's what she told me, and I do it now. She said, if you're going to drink your soda, you need to have a water with that. So now I do. I'm not just going to keep filling up. So I've learned to like water. I'll put oranges in it, or sometimes I'll put blueberries and strawberries and let it sit there. But if we stay hydrated, it can improve our brain performance. So even mild dehydration, so as little as 2% fluid loss, can affect your memory, your mood, your concentration, and your reaction time. Staying hydrated gives you more energy. It also can decrease joint pain. And that also gives you a healthier heart. So those, again, there's an article where you can read all 10 of the benefits, but those are some of the top ones of why it's so important to stay hydrated. And then down here, you can see at the bottom that as far as supplements, about the FDA has not approved any supplements that really say they're going to help with your brain and memory as far as FDA being approved. And so I've given you some articles for you to read and you decide how you believe about the different supplements. So I love this. This just gives you, again, another visual that's talking about making these healthy lifestyle choices may reduce your risk for dementia or cognitive decline. So again, that heart health, making sure we sleep really well, eating that healthy diet, which is the Mediterranean or the MIND diet, keeping physically active, whatever level that is for you, and then taking care of our mental health and connecting with others. The link is here where you can read more about that. I put some other resources here for Alzheimer's prevention. And then on the right, you can see the Healthy Brain Resource Center. You can get some more ideas and information there. And then I wanted to share this. I've shared this before. This is caregiver support groups on Facebook. So you can look and see, are you in the sandwich generation where you're taking care of younger and older? Well, this could be a safe place for you to go. And then there's different types of caregiving. There's one called Parenting Aging Parents. So if you're taking care of them. So these are safe places to go to talk about things, to let your hair down and really share how you're feeling and to get some support there as well. I love this. It said, old habits hinder new life. So I put this as my screensaver on my computer at work because what good is all this information if we're not trying to work on and break some of our old habits? And if you look under here, it says caregiver self-assessment. So these first two links, you could do an assessment. See, how well are you taking care of yourself in these different categories? The third link is you can create your own self-plan to do self-care and take care of yourself. And I love the last one. It's a promise. You can fill this out. When I'm feeling stressed, I'll do this. I'll remember to this. You can fill it out and hang it up on your refrigerator or near your TV, somewhere similar to help you remember to make some of these changes. And then here you can also print the Alzheimer's Association has this handout about loving your brain where it talks about everything that we talked about today of exercising, keeping your brain busy, quitting smoking, taking care of your heart, also eating well, sleeping well, taking care of your mental health, staying connected and challenging your brain. So that is a quick summary of the importance of taking care of our brain.
Great presentation, Natalie, like always. And I was nodding my
Thank
head yes to everything you were covering and saying. Just to
Thank you.
let everyone know, as long as you registered for the session, you will receive the PowerPoint presentation later as a PDF. If you did not register and someone just gave you the link or the information, you can give us a call at 866-390-6491, and I'd be more than happy to send it out to you. Now, does anyone have any questions, comments that you would like to share with us? You can either unmute yourself or raise your hand or even type it out in the chat box.
While you're looking, I wanted to share with people, like, even though I educate and I do all this stuff, do I live by all of these principles? No, but let me tell you what happened. I am a mental health clinician. I have done counseling. I've talked about self-care and all this. And I know all the research out there of what's good for my health and to all this. This is the first time for me that what got me was the brain health. This is the one that stood out to me. Okay, this is not just, oh, live a healthier life, la la. This is how can I protect my brain? What can I do to help that? And that's what really motivated me, because I always had this thought of, incorporating these things, I have to do this all or nothing. But that's not true. So I don't have to come home, wash off makeup, put on exercise clothes, and make workout that way. What I do now at work is I have tennis shoes and I'll just take a 10-minute break and go walk. So just really, because I want to protect my brain. So I hope that gives you encouragement, because nothing in the past ever worked. I knew the doctor said, do this, do this, do this. But no, I want to protect my brain. And so maybe it'll help motivate you as well.
That is awesome. Andre said, just a wonderful presentation. Your visuals are fantastic, so clear, concise, applicable, and enjoyable. Many thanks for your great work. Nancy said, thank you so much for valuable information. And Yvette also chimed in by saying, I truly appreciate the useful encouragement information the presenter has provided. Diana said, enjoyed the presentation and thank you for doing this. And I have to say, I agree with everything you just said. Being a foundation program coordinator, we have our stress busting program. I have gone through the stress busting program, so I know what I tell people to do for themselves to
Yeah.
make better. But like always, it is harder for us to
Yes,
apply what we preach type of thing.
exactly. Exactly. But this one is like, I want to preserve my brain. And if it means, and I don't cook, I am not going to live a Mediterranean lifestyle. But what I have done since I started studying this is, okay, instead of the French fries, I'll get a side salad. But I can still have my burger, or I'll get a grilled chicken sandwich instead of the chicken. I'm not going to do this extreme stuff, but if every little bit counts. And what I loved, even about, not that I don't smoke, but for those that do smoke, I love the research that says it's not too late to stop. You can still protect yourself as if someone who's not a smoker. So there's a lot of hope in this research of us preventing cognitive decline or slowing it down. And these again are those modifiable things. We have the power. And so if I won't do it for weight loss, for my looks, maybe I'll do it for my brain health. And so that was really the turning point for me. And I hope that will speak to some of you.
Definitely. Marlene said, excellent info and graphics. And Tim chimed in with, I am an active senior. I will use some of these valuable informations in my daily life. I know one
Excellent.
thing I've been trying to work on is the sleep, being more mindful of how many hours of sleep I'm getting, and is it productive sleep? And when you were talking about having the TV on and everything, I was like, things I need to work on. And I'm sure everyone has their own little things that they do.
I do
Joyce,
plan on, one of my to-dos, like starting in the new years, I want to do a whole hour about sleep because, a lot of times when I do these self-care and healthy strategy things, I really push the sleep. If you're going to work on one thing right now, sleep. Sleep affects everything. Sleep affects how we eat. Affects how we behave. Sleep affects our brain. It affects so much. If you could, like I told my doctor, I'll do one of them, go to bed at the same time or get up. He said, get up at the same time. So that's what I have been working. Do I do it every day? No, but I'm doing it more than I was before.
Definitely. Joy typed in, thank you. Excellent presentation. Looking forward to exploring the info. Have to leave now. Appreciate you providing this. Yes, very valuable.
Excellent.
And Andre says, I think we definitely have an obligation to do the best we can to help and protect ourselves from the risks of dementia. If anything, in respect of what our parents did not know or the resources they did not have.
Amen to that. I totally agree that we have to have some accountability for sure.
Definitely. And Sharon says, I'm working on the quality of sleep, getting my
Yes.
mind to shut down, feeling like I really got some rest. And I have
And
to agree with you, Sharon.
one thing you can do, like there's this method in therapy, like if you're which your caregivers, you're all stressed. Now, whether you have a diagnosis of anxiety or whether or not, that's beside the point. Stress can lead to anxiety. But we have this method, you have to wrap your mind around it. But a lot of therapists will have you, and there's research about it too, that if you're a worrier and you're stressed and you're like, I can't give that up, then what you can do is plan it just like you plan everything else. So you can say, okay, for 20 minutes a day, I can stress between 12 and 12:30. I'll let my mind go wild and all that. But then after that, put a check mark. I've done that and I move on and I don't let those thoughts consume me for the rest of the day. It's been proven to work. And so, we just have to, a lot of times with these stress and anxiety, we have to take the ownership of it and do the work. And it's hard. Doing the work's hard, but each day you can do a little bit more.
And Diane said, excellent presentation. The tables of
Thank you.
information were a great bonus.
Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely. And now, with a little bit of time left, I'm just going to let everyone know what's coming up on Caregiver Child Connection. Tomorrow, we have our Spanish presentation at 10 a.m. It is on Conceptos Básicos de Medicare con Jose Diaz. He's going to be talking about what Medicare is, what to expect, and with Enroll AEP coming up, it's just a way to get you prepared. After that, on Tuesday, September 26th, we have Understanding and Managing Behavioral Symptoms with LBD with Brandy Hackett. And on Thursday, September 28th, we have Embracing the Unknown with Dr. Jamie Heisman. We are currently working on our calendar for October, so as soon as that is ready, you can always find it on our website, or if you registered, you'll be added to our list, unless you specified you didn't want to be added, and you'll receive our calendar as soon as it's completed. Any other questions or comments that anyone would like to share?
Well, I want to thank y'all for coming today. I appreciate your time. I know your caregivers are busy, you have a lot going on. And please feel free to share this information with anyone. So I love sharing it with y'all, and y'all share it with family members, coworkers, etc. Anything that can help. So thank y'all for being here.
Thank you, Natalie, for an
Mhm.
awesome presentation.
Thank you.
The session was recorded and will be posted on our website. Usually takes me 24 to 48 hours, provided there aren't any IT issues. And you will also be receiving our survey afterwards in the next couple of days. Please fill it out, 'cause this lets us know if you're enjoying the presentations, if there's anything that you would like for us to cover in the future and things, and bring to you, so that way either in the coming months or in the coming year. And with all of that, I want to say thank you to everyone for participating with us today. And again, thank you, Natalie, for helping with this presentation.
Sure. Thank you.